The world awoke to a silent, insidious invader, the virus. It didn't announce its presence with a fever, cough, or any physical discomfort. Its nature was far more clandestine, insinuating itself into the very fabric of human existence, evading detection for far too long. At first, there were no visible signs. People went about their lives, unaware of the subtle shift occurring within them. It was a virus that bypassed medical diagnostics, slipping past the scrutiny of the most vigilant healthcare systems. Unbeknownst to anyone, this virus held a peculiar design. Its effects lay dormant, operating quietly beneath the surface, infiltrating the core of humanity itself. Affecting 1 in every 1,000, it targeted an intrinsic aspect of human identity, their gender and sexual orientation. It wasn't long before anomalies surfaced. Individuals who once exuded vibrant sexuality now exhibited a stark disinterest. Couples found themselves adrift in a sea of disconnection, the warmth of intimacy replaced by an inexplicable apathy. The world, once fervent with passion, seemed to cool. Medical experts were confounded. There were no symptoms, no diseases to combat, no apparent threat. Yet the impact was profound. It wasn't merely a decline in libido, it was a complete disintegration of sexual identity. As months turned into years, the ripple effects grew palpable. Societal structures, so deeply rooted in human relationships, began to falter. Relationships crumbled under the weight of this inexplicable disinterest. Birth rates plummeted, and governments grappled with the unprecedented decline in reproduction. The scientific community raced against time to unearth the cause, but the virus remained elusive. Families watched helplessly as loved ones transformed, their identities dissolving like sand in an hourglass. Those affected seemed to regress, not in age, but in emotional and sexual maturity. Once vibrant individuals became shadows of their former selves, devoid of the desires that once defined them. But the cruelest twist of fate emerged after 15 years, the regression. Those touched by the virus regressed to a state akin to a 5-year-old child. Memories, experiences, relationships, all erased, leaving behind a blank slate. A fate far worse than any disease, for it robbed them not just of life, but of the essence of their being. Society, ill-equipped to comprehend, let alone care for these individuals, faced an unprecedented challenge. The afflicted were left in a state of perpetual vulnerability, their needs ignored, their existence a burden too heavy for a world unequipped to bear it. As the years passed, the grim reality of their fate emerged. The virus didn't bestow immortality. It merely delayed the inevitable. At the age of 60, those affected would face a painful demise. Abandoned, forgotten, and starved, they would succumb to a fate no human should endure. And so, the world found itself at the mercy of an invisible adversary, one that didn't bring death through disease, but inflicted a fate worse than any mortal ailment. Dr. John Duong had spent years peering into microscopes, poring over genetic sequences, and unraveling the enigmatic nature of Zero Doom. A man of determination and intellect, he had come to understand the virus more intimately than anyone else on the planet. Yet his knowledge brought him no solace, only a harrowing sense of helplessness. In his lab, amid rows of test tubes and the hum of complex machinery, John Duong had witnessed the tragedy unfold before his very eyes. Families, shattered and bewildered, brought their afflicted loved ones to seek answers from him. These once vibrant individuals now resembled innocent children, devoid of the memories and experiences that once defined their lives. The heart-wrenching scenes etched deep furrows on Dr. Duong's brow as he grappled with the implications of his findings. The virus's cunning cloak of invisibility made it an insurmountable adversary. There was no fever to break, no symptoms to treat, no enemy to combat directly. With heavy footsteps, he traversed the sterile halls of the hospital, his mind a battlefield of anguish and scientific rigor. He bore witness to the emotional turmoil of families whose elders had regressed into a state of childlike innocence. They wept for the loss of the vibrant personalities they once knew, now trapped within bodies that had forgotten their very existence. The nation's leaders sought answers from Dr. Duong, pinning their hopes on his scientific prowess. The president's invitation to the White House was an acknowledgement of his expertise, an attempt to harness his knowledge for the greater good. But within the hallowed halls of power, facing the most powerful person in the country, Duong delivered a grim verdict. "Mr. President," he began, his voice tinged with a mixture of despair and stark realism, "I have dedicated my life to understanding Zero Doom. It's a virus unlike any we've encountered. Its insidious nature lies in its very subtlety. It evades detection because it causes no harm. It's changing the fundamental genetic makeup of those it infects." The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a dense fog. Dr. Duong continued, his gaze unwavering. "We've named it, studied it, but finding a cure that eradicates it entirely seems beyond our grasp. The virus alters the very core of human genetics, rewriting it silently without a trace. There's no medicine, no vaccine to destroy it without destroying the host." The president's visage contorted with a mixture of frustration and desperation. The reality dawned upon them. The virus was rewriting the narrative of humanity, and there seemed to be no turning back. "I wish I had better news, Mr. President," Dr. Duong said softly, his words heavy with the weight of the truth. "But the nature of Zero Doom defies our conventional methods of detection and treatment. It's altering us irreversibly, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake." And so the world grappled with the irrevocable consequences of a virus that rewrote the very essence of human existence, a virus that changed the course of civilization without firing a single shot or inflicting a single visible wound. The spread of Zero Doom seemed inexorable, an invisible tide sweeping across the globe, leaving in its wake a path of irreversible transformation. Within the scientific community, a collective realization dawned. A countdown had begun. From the moment the virus infiltrated a person's genetic code, the clock ticked towards an inevitable endpoint, a doomsday that loomed a century ahead. As the gravity of this realization settled, a solemn camaraderie emerged among the world's brightest minds. Their pursuit shifted from seeking a cure for the virus, a futile endeavor, to salvaging the legacy of humanity. In the dimly lit chambers of laboratories, amidst stacks of aging tomes and gleaming computer screens, they toiled ceaselessly. Their mission: to defy the impending oblivion by encapsulating the sum of human knowledge in a form that could endure the test of time. Books became their sanctuaries, their vessels of hope. Every word, every equation, every theorem, every narrative that defined humanity found its place on those pages. They meticulously chronicled the intricacies of science, philosophy, history, and the arts. They inscribed the blueprints of technology, the nuances of governance, the tales of triumphs and tribulations. In a bid to preserve this treasure trove of wisdom, they sought a substance, a chemical concoction that could defy the ravages of time, a solution that would encapsulate the knowledge within those pages, guarding it against the erosion of centuries, waiting patiently for the next dawn of civilization. Their quest for this elixir of preservation became their raison d'être. Sacrificing their own lifespans, they poured themselves into this Herculean task, knowing that their names might fade into obscurity, but their legacy would live on within the pages they diligently safeguarded. As the years passed, the world teetered on the brink of the unknown. The virus continued its silent conquest, inexorably claiming lives, erasing identities, and reducing civilizations to relics of the past. The countdown to the inevitable doomsday echoed like a relentless drumbeat in the consciousness of those who understood the gravity of the situation. By 2085, The last vestiges of human civilization vanished. The once bustling cities lay silent, reclaimed by nature, while the halls of knowledge, the libraries brimming with bound wisdom, stood as silent sentinels to a bygone era. The hope of these scientists, the custodians of knowledge, was that their efforts would not be in vain. The books they had meticulously preserved, embedded with the chemical shield against time, awaited discovery by the next custodians of Earth, a civilization yet unborn, destined to unearth the remnants of what once was, and perhaps glean the wisdom to forge a path of their own. And so, amidst the quietude of a world now lost, the legacy of humanity lay dormant, awaiting the touch of the future to rekindle the flames of knowledge, resilience, and the essence of what it means to be human.